Thanks for joining us, because obviously we want to get right to the video, the TMZ video that was released of Ray Rice and what actually happened inside of the elevator. Many had asked what happened inside of the elevator, what led to a 2-game suspension for Ravens running back Ray Rice. Well, now we know. We must warn you, though, that this video is extremely disturbing. TMZ Sports posted this surveillance video. It appears to show Ray Rice punching his then fiance and now wife, Janae Palmer, after which she moves toward him and he punches her again. She hits the wall and then the elevator handle, apparently knocking her out. The video then shows him drag her out of the elevator, after which she regains consciousness. Security comes over, and she ultimately, after some time there, she's still on the floor, gets up and walks away. Again, the video extremely disturbing. And we want to know now, and that's why we have Adam Schefter here to try to break this all down for us. What exactly did the NFL know about this video?
Well, a couple of things to keep in mind here. Number one, I emailed the league at 6 a.m. this morning. We're still awaiting a response as to whether the league had the actual video, simply knew what was in the video, ever witnessed the video. We do not know the actual concrete answer to that question just yet. Saying that, either they had the video, and this is egregious beyond words, to the point where it can never be undone, the damage that the league did, or they didn't see the video, and now you would think, even though there's double jeopardy and you can't discipline players twice, we'll have the chance to go back and try to make a wrong right. It's one or the other.
Is why didn't they do something sooner, and why hadn't they seen the video sooner?
Perplexing questions for sure. As to why they didn't see the video sooner, I don't know that any of us know the answers relating to the video issue. And quite frankly, I'm not sure what I would find more stunning: that the league did not see the video, which would be stunning, or that the league saw the video and yet imposed only a 2-game penalty, which would be stunning. I don't know which is more perplexing.
And Amy, isn't that the critical question, as some critics have charged that the NFL was willfully ignorant?
Well, certainly the video is available, and I know that a number of us remarked at the time, this video is going to come out. Whether it's Deadspin or TMZ or some other place, the video is going to come back. So query whether it was an intentional decision on the part of the league to not pursue the video and engage in willful ignorance, as you suggested, or whether it was just a colossal mistake. But in either regard, the standard really should have been, or should be, did the league see the video, or should the league have been held to a standard of having seen the video?
And then can I just ask what seeing the video changes things? I mean, we just heard the Ravens coach, John Harbaugh, who is a very good man, say that first he stood by Rice. Then when he said he saw the video, it changed things. We'd seen a video that showed the victim being dragged out like a rag doll. We knew that she'd been knocked out. We just saw a new video about that. Why does that change things?
You know, that's an excellent point, and arguably it shouldn't change anything, but I am reminded of the adage that a picture paints 1,000 words. And look, the video is horrifying, it is heartbreaking, and it is hard to watch. But does it change what we know happened, which is that an unconscious woman was dragged from the elevator? No, it doesn't change that.
So, Amy, knowing all that we know now, what should happen now?
Well,
Who should pay the price?
Well, I believe the Ravens did the right thing. Many people will assert that it was done belatedly. Whether it's belated or not, the Ravens did the right thing. For a number of reasons, it was the right thing to do yesterday. And the league has articulated a new policy with respect to matters of this nature. Again, whether it's late or not, it is a new policy. And what we have to hope is that the league is going to enforce it in a manner that both deters this sort of behavior and educates players and others in and around the league about what sort of actions are absolutely unacceptable. Look, the league is a popular league. People follow it avidly, and if the league can use this now as a platform to educate people that this sort of behavior, which it's not simply domestic violence, it's assault and battery, is not okay.
My sense is this story is not over. Amy Trask, thank you so much.
So the Ray Rice case was our real-life situation, and from it we proposed the question, How do we logically determine a fair and reasonable punishment? But first we had to ask, what is punishment? There are 4 main types of punishment: rehabilitative, retributive, deterrence, and incapacitation. The concept of rehabilitation punishment rests on the assumption that criminal behavior is caused by some factor. This perspective does not deny that people make choices to break the law, but it does assert that these choices are not a matter of pure free will. Instead, the decision to commit a crime is held to be determined, or at least heavily influenced by, a person's social surroundings, psychological development, or biological makeup. Sometimes rehabilitation is said to embrace a medical model. When people are physically ill, the causes of their illness are diagnosed and then treated. Each person's medical problems may be different, and the treatment will differ accordingly. That is, the medical intervention is individualized. Thus, people with the same illness may, depending on their personal conditions such as age or prior health, receive different medicines and stay in the hospital different lengths of time. Correctional rehabilitation shares the same logic. Causes are to be uncovered and treatments are to be individualized. This is why rehabilitation is also referred to as a treatment. As my groupmate will talk about in further depth, many celebrities go to rehab as a means of correcting their poor behavior, be it alcohol or drugs. The distinctiveness of rehabilitation can also be seen by contrasting it with 3 other correctional perspectives. The first, retribution punishment, or just desserts, is distinctive in its own right because it is non-utilitarian. That is, it is not a means to achieving some end, in this case the reduction of crime, but rather is seen as an end in and of itself. The purpose of correctional sanctions is thus to inflict a punishment on the offender so that the harm the offender has caused will be paid back, and the scales of justice balanced. This can be seen in another area of knowledge, history, as retributive punishment was common in the past, such as in Hammurabi's code, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, so on and so on. In this case, inflicting pain on the offender is seen as justified because the individual used his or her free will to choose to break the law. The second form of punishment, deterrence, is utilitarian and asserts that punishing offenders will cause them to not return to crime, because they will have been taught that crime does not pay. Note that deterrence assumes that offenders are rational, and that increasing the cost of crime, usually through more certain and severe penalties, will cause offenders to choose to go straight, out of the fear that future criminality will prove to be too painful. This is called specific deterrence. When other people in society refrain from crime because they witness offenders' punishment and fear suffering a similar fate, this is called general deterrence. Relating back to sports, Michael Vick, a quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons, received a deterrent punishment when he went to jail for 2 years for his participation in a dogfighting ring. Needless to say, these 2 years ruined his once promising career, but more than likely convinced him to never participate in these activities again. Finally, the third form of punishment, incapacitation, makes no assumption about offenders and why they committed the crimes. Instead, it seeks to achieve the utilitarian goal of reducing crime by caging or incarcerating offenders. If behind the bars, and thus incapacitated, crime will be impossible because the offender is not free in society where innocent citizens can be criminally victimized. This type of punishment is often taken with extreme criminals who pose a legitimate danger to society, including murderers and rapists. With these theories of punishment in mind, let's analyze Ray Rice's predicament. On February 15, 2014, Rice and his fiancée Janae Palmer were arrested and charged with assault after a physical altercation at Revel Casino in Atlantic City, New Jersey. On March 27, 2014, a grand jury indicted Rice on third-degree aggravated assault with a possible jail sentence of 3 to 5 years and a fine of up to $15,000. This being a form of deterrence punishment, as he would be persuaded not to commit such an action again. Then, on March 28, 2014, Rice actually married Palmer. On July 25, 2014, for the incident that he had committed, Rice was suspended for the first 2 games of the 2014 NFL season. This being another form of deterrence punishment, as Rice would not be able to participate in his vocation. The criminal charges were later dropped after Rice agreed to undergo court-supervised counseling, a form of rehabilitative punishment. In a news conference announcing longer suspension lengths for future domestic violence incidents, NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell said that he didn't get it right in deciding Rice's punishment. And then, after TMZ released additional footage from an elevator camera showing Rice actually punching Palmer, the Baltimore Ravens terminated Rice's contract, and Goodell announced that Rice had been suspended indefinitely from the NFL. So taking the utilitarian approach, we believe that the initial punishment of a combination of a rehabilitative court-supervised counseling and a deterrent 2-game suspension was a fair and just reaction to Ray Rice's crime. While Ray Rice would be rightfully punished for his crimes, he'd still be able to provide for his family after his suspension, and hopefully come to good terms with his new wife. However, the NFL seems to have taken a more Kantian approach, believing that it was their duty as the governing body to suspend Rice indefinitely. While there is cause to their actions, we believe that the NFL's punishment is too harsh. It is also important to realize that they committed double jeopardy by punishing Rice twice for the same crime, an action frowned upon by our own justice system. An explanation for the severity of their punishment can be directly tied to the media, leading to another sub-KI. How does the media influence justice? So regardless of whether punishment is fair and reasonable, justice can be influenced by language and emotion of the media. The media have had tremendous power in setting cultural guidelines and in shaping political discourse. In the case of the Ray Rice case, there was a significant amount of media bias. The media immediately took a stance against Ray Rice, using weasel words like sucker punch to describe Rice's action. They also placed labels on Rice by proclaiming him to be violent, reckless, and dangerous. The media has had a tremendous role in causing bandwagoning to occur, as the average Joe listens mainly to the media for his own opinions. Thus, with the public outcry for a severe punishment for Rice, it can be said that the NFL had no choice but to suspend Rice. It is also important to consider the media's self-interest in this case. The media, for the most part, does not care about the outcome of the case. Rather, they have a specific vested interest to sell the most print copies of their work or to have the most viewers on TV. The Ray Rice case, it seems, provided the media with a way to boost their ratings. Keep in mind the opinion of the victim of Ray Rice's action, his wife. From an Instagram post, she said, "No one knows the pain that the media and unwanted opinions from the public have caused my family. To make us relive a moment in our lives that we regret every day is a horrible thing. To take something away from the man I love that has worked his butt off for all his life just to gain ratings is horrific. This is our life. What don't you all get? If your intentions were to hurt us, embarrass us, make us feel alone, take all happiness away, you succeeded on so many levels." So by replaying the video clip over and over and over, as evidenced by this quote, the media has ruined the lives of a particular family who will be judged by society for the rest of their lives. Now one could say that the media is only doing their job, and they did not significantly influence the Ray Rice case. History says otherwise. Does anyone remember that Ray Lewis, a star linebacker for the Baltimore Ravens and future Hall of Famer, was indicted on murder charges for the deaths of 2 people at a party in Atlanta? The NFL fined him $250,000, and he was put on probation for 12 months. This was in the year 2000, when the news media, especially on TV or the internet, was not as prominent. If this case had occurred today, with the media being as powerful as it is, would Ray Lewis still have gotten to finish out his prolific career for the past 13 years unscathed by the justice system? We do not believe so. Take another example, this one a little bit more recent. Ben Roethlisberger, the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback, was accused of sexual assault twice at a Lake Tahoe hotel in 2008. The NFL slapped him with a 6-game suspension. He never faced a jury trial because the district attorney claimed that there wasn't enough evidence. Where was the media attention about this scandal, and why is he still playing in the NFL today, while Rice sits suspended indefinitely? Thus, we can conclude that the influence of the media in justice cases is significant. Should there be this much influence of the media? No, but we wonder what gives the media so much power today in comparison to years past. Was Ray Rice suspended because of the fact that an incriminating video of him was released in comparison to the Ray Lewis or Ben Roethlisberger trials of the past, where the public was unable to actually witness the crime? This led us to another sub-KI. How does language and perception influence our sense of reality?
The written report describing the event that took place between Ray Rice and his girlfriend described everything that the video displayed. However, the video caused a bigger uproar and created more controversy, which led to the public demanding harsher punishment against Ray Rice and prompted the NFL to expel him from the Ravens and the league. The facts of what occurred in that elevator did not change. The only difference was the different way of knowing that was employed. Perception seemed to influence the emotions of the general people more than language. This lends us to the question, how do language and perception as ways of knowing influence our sense of reality? The Sapir-Whorf hypothesis states that language determines our experience of reality, and we can see and think only what our language allows us to see and think. This form of linguistic determinism provides insight into Rice's case since the audience's perspective of reality was only affected by the language. However, Rice claims there are no new facts presented by the video. However, Rice could have utilized certain weasel words or used language specifically to downplay the event. Common sense realism is the concept that perception is passive and a relatively straightforward process which gives us an accurate picture of reality. According to this, it can be argued that when people viewed the video, they disregarded all their previous opinions about the incident and subconsciously made the misconception that some facts described in the report may have been misconstrued or left out, and the video displayed all the accurate facts. Furthermore, domestic violence is a gender-specific topic, and oftentimes men are not considered the victims and are viewed as the real culprits without any regards to the actual facts. According to Lagamat, since our beliefs and expectations can affect the way we see things, it might sometimes be more accurate to say that believing is seeing. If this is applied to the viewer's response to the video, then it can be argued that instead of watching the video and then accepting it as fact, the viewers came in with this set of beliefs which criticized and deprecated Rice. These preconceived beliefs created confirmation bias, and the viewers only looked for facts that cohered with their beliefs. In reality, Rice's girlfriend initiates the quarrel, and Rice, being the aggressive football player he's paid to be, retaliates rather severely. This highlights the hypocrisy within the case, since Ray Rice is paid to be aggressive and fans cheer him on for being aggressive. But if he displays his aggressiveness that has almost been indoctrinated into his lifestyle, he's demonized for it. To an extent, the public cannot blame Ray Rice for his aggressive actions. If the viewers would have seen the video without their preconceived labels and stereotypes and viewed domestic violence as a gender-neutral topic, then there would not be as much controversy as there is presented in the video. Both parties in the incident need to be considered equal since they were both victimized. Palmer, being the woman, is associated with labels such as helpless and weak, and Rice, being the male football player, is associated with labels such as mean, hostile, and threatening. However, Rice is also a victim in this incident since he lost his career and had to deal with tension within his family that may have been subdued. Clearly, perception and language play an important role in how we view a situation, as seen in Ray Rice's case, but different people are raised in different environments. So is it fair for us to judge an individual if an action he performed is normal in his reality? This query led us to another sub-KI. To what extent does personal upbringing justify certain actions? When beginning to research this sub-KI, we came across the recent Adrian Peterson case. Adrian Peterson was arrested after beating his 4-year-old son with a tree branch. As a child, Adrian Peterson was a victim of many beatings administered shamelessly to him by his father, Nelson Peterson. In an interview with David Cummings, Peterson's childhood friend, Cummings recalls how Peterson's father beat him with his belt in front of 20 other students after receiving a phone call from his school about disciplinary problems. Two of Nelson Peterson's brothers, Larry and Greg Peterson, and a former wife, Phyllis Peterson, confirmed that Nelson Peterson used corporal punishment and said that Nelson often used his belt or a tree branch to administer it. No one reported these abuses to the authorities, and Cummings said it's normal. Cummings says he and Adrian Peterson got whipped several times by the football team's defensive coordinator, Booker Valley, with a solid oak paddle that measured about 18 inches by 6 inches and hung on a nail in the coach's office. At Peterson's high school, Palestine High School in Texas, corporal punishment is still used and is legal. In a statement released Monday, Peterson said, "I've always believed that the way my parents disciplined me has a great deal to do with the successes I have enjoyed as a man." Adrian Peterson was acting based on what he thought was best for his son, and which may lead to future successes that his son may enjoy. Adrian Peterson's actions against his son were not to cause his son harm. Adrian Peterson said that it is not his intent to hurt his son and that he has sought psychological counseling. Peterson himself is seeking out for rehabilitative courses that may assist him preventing future incidents such as this from occurring. Vikings fullback Jerome Felton, a good friend of Peterson's, grew up in Tennessee and says he also was whipped as a child. I know that there's differences in where you grew up and what type of household you grew up in, Felton says, but a lot of people that I know got that type of discipline. I feel like I am a better person for it. I just feel like it gave me a direction of what I can and can't do. But some people don't agree with that, and I understand that. Adrian Peterson grew up with many atrocities and was beaten with tree branches. Therefore, his behavior can be excused to an extent, but one would imagine after 20 years he and other members of the society would have learned that this is considered to be cruel. However, his childhood plays a crucial role in discussing his actions, since he may not have seen what he did to be as cruel as he suffered these beatings himself.
If you notice, we've mainly discussed celebrities. Often the most prominent and widespread news deals with celebrities and their scandals. The definition of the word scandal itself refers to the outrage of the public. So if a normal person did an action similar to Ray Rice, it would not be a scandal. Why not? Because it generally would not cause a public outcry. It would stir some attention and the person would surely be charged, but people would not think anything of it, because things like that happen and are prevalent within our society. But then why should there be so much news or media coverage on this happening to a celebrity? It seems as though this is the case because they're seen as a role model for people. This brings up the knowledge issue of, should celebrities or role models be held to a higher standard than other people when it comes to their actions? It's generally seen that children see their favorite football player, singer, artist, and create an inner drive to be just as successful as they are. This seems to be a common practice, but does that necessarily mean that the same child will pick up the negative traits and or actions of their role model? Often, children look to their environment to see how to react to something. They base their emotions off the primary emotions of the people close to them, or maybe their home role models like his or her father or mother figure. For example, if a child's father is a big Ravens fan, and he sees his father constantly cheering for Ray Rice, then he'll want to join in as a way of bonding with his father. I'm in no way suggesting that children cannot make decisions on their own, but they're often heavily influenced by others, as evidenced by their ideologies often being similar to their parents. This exemplifies the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. So back to the knowledge issue. Children become a reflection of the environment's opinion or reaction to things. They'll most likely pick up only up to the good things that a person does. It's hard to imagine a child fan of Ray Rice thinking to himself or herself, I'm going to physically abuse my significant other when I'm older. No, he or she's generally like, I want to be as rich as he is one day, or I hope to be just as good as he is. If this is the case, then celebrities should not be held to a higher standard. But when you think of teenagers, you think of the rebellious stage of life. They differ from the children. It's as though they stop relying on their parents' or environment's opinions and try to form their own, occasionally bringing the opposite as a way of rebelling. A USA Weekend survey found that at least 2/3 of teenagers want to get piercings or tattoos because of their favorite celebrity, and almost half agree that they drink and or smoke because of their celebrity role model. This may not be the optimal data, but it still serves as a background for the effect of role models on teenagers. The habits gained from the celebrities could lead to abuse or bad habits within teenagers. In the 1970s and 70s, for example, it was often seen as cool for celebrities to smoke on TV or in advertisements. This led to a large amount of teenage smoking. However, this was seen as the norm by the public, which made it seem like it was okay for the teenager to do at the time. Since then, the effects of smoking have been determined, and the public view of smoking has degraded, allowing the amount of teenage smokers to decrease to a new minimum every year. Is it really the role models that affect the actions of teenagers and children, or is it the environment they're surrounded by? It seems to me that it's the environment they grow up in, and the public views of events that influence people, not the role models and celebrities. What makes them any different than anyone else? Society's paradigms shift so often, who's to say who's in the right or the wrong? The society during the 70s and 80s are obviously to blame for the high smoking population of now adults. It would be wrong to look down on someone who supported smoking back then when it's what society thought was fine. Of course, Ray Rice surely didn't think what he did was right, but neither did society. So based off my conclusions, I think it would be wrong for celebrities to be treated differently within the justice system than anyone else. If Ray Rice is going to lose his job for domestic abuse, then every person who abuses their significant other or anyone else should lose their job as well. Just because a person is a common household name doesn't mean what they do is any worse than what a common person does. However, Ray Rice and these celebrities have gotten a large amount of publicity, enough to call it a scandal. Little is it known that U.S. women's soccer team goalie Hope Solo has 2 domestic abuse charges and has been arrested for them. She still holds her position on the national team, as well as her sponsorships from major companies like Nike. These charges have gotten very little public attention, raising the question of how does gender influence the public opinion on certain issues? Why is a domestic abuse trial on a man so much more publicized and relevant in society? Statistics from the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence released some statistics reporting that near 1/3 of all women will experience some form of domestic abuse, while almost 1/4 of men will experience it as well. Although more women than men experience domestic abuse, 1/4 of the men in America is still a very large amount of people. Yet not many people hear about the domestic abuse of men. Is it because men are supposed to be able to just take it? Contrasting, however, is the amount of publicity a woman role model gets when she sexualizes herself as compared to a man. Miley Cyrus is a child actor that starred on her own show, Hannah Montana. Millions of little girls and boys look up to her. However, since then, she has changed her style to a more dark and radical look and has been reported using drugs and drinking publicly. She also promotes sexual dance moves such as twerking and has done many acts with very little clothing while she performs sexual dance moves with other singers such as Robin Thicke at the Video Music Awards in 2014. This, for example, was an enormous scandal where people bashed her and the actions she did. Yet there was no big scandal for what Robin Thicke was doing, although he was just as bad as she was. It can be seen that the media picks up on scandals that occur with actions that are predominant to the gender it's associated with. For example, more men obviously conduct domestic abuse, so when a male role model is charged with it, it's seen as much worse than if a woman does it. But on the other side, if a woman is seen sexualizing herself, then she is looked down upon way more than if a man does. Again, these things are strictly based off society's outlook of them. For some reason, it's not as bad for a woman to domestically abuse someone and a man to sexualize himself, or at least society sees that way. This exemplifies the contradictory gender roles that our society holds today.
Overall, from the Ray Rice case, we have concluded several things. First, we have realized that there are many different forms of justice that can be applied in various circumstances. Second, we have found that the media can play a significant role in the justice process.
Third, we have evaluated the significance of perception over language as a way of knowing in the analysis of evidence. Fourth, we have determined that a person's background could play a significant role in justifying their wrongdoings.
And fifth, we have seen that celebrities should not be held to a higher standard than anyone else, despite being potential role models. And last, we have denoted that there exists hypocrisy in the justice system in dealing with gender.
So we'd like to thank all of y'all for your time, and we hope that you have a blessed TOK-filled day.
See ya.
Ciao.